Join me as I create 3 refreshing DIYs for spring. Welcome to the Chic Show. Today's playlist is hosted by Rustic and Lace DIY and Krista's Crafty Life. Their channels in the playlist are in the description box below. I recently thrifted this little wood box and I'm going to make it over for my daughter for some special notes from friends. This will be the perfect little keepsake box. So these little snowflakes on top were raised, so I did sand those down a bit. I gave the box a coat of Peony by Fusion, and then I used this little lock and key mold. It's not IOD, I believe it's redesigned by Prima. And I'm using IOD's Lover of Flowers rub-on transfers for this piece. Cut out this little forget-me-not part at the bottom because I'm going to use that on the top of the box. But I am going to wrap these flowers around from the front to the top of the box. All of IOD's transfers come with a rub-on transfer tool. It's just a plastic stick. You can use a popsicle stick as well, or even a credit card or something of that nature. After it's been applied, I did burnish it down with the backing paper just to make sure that it was adhered completely to the box. Now I'm going to be using a little razor just to cut the transfer there where the box opens. And I'll add the forget-me-not to the top. Now this little mold has dried, I'm going to be adding that to the front, but I'm going to go ahead and paint inside the lock part with black paint. This is Fusion, I believe in coal black. There's a little bow at the top, and I'm going to be using that same Fusion Peony pink paint to paint the bow. Now I'm using Fusion's French eggshell to paint another part of the lock, and this blue matches perfectly with the rub-on transfer. I always like to add just a little bit of gold to my pieces, so I'm going to add this to the lock. The glass that was originally in the box had broken, so I used a piece of foam board and I'm going to be covering it with this kind of velvet type material from Dollar Tree. I used this spray-on glue to attach it to the top of the foam board, and then I used hot glue in the back. I started by folding in the corners and then I worked with the longer edges. Now for the other side of this insert, I'm going to be using this canvas pad from Dollar Tree. I taped it to a piece of printer paper and then I printed out the actual saying from the Lover of Flowers. The Forget-Me-Not poem in the rub-on transfers was too big, but I was able to print out a smaller version of this poem, and I printed it onto that canvas, and now I'm just going to use my glue stick and glue it to what's going to be the top of this insert. I'd added a little bit of hot glue to the corners just to make sure that this stayed glued down, but I didn't want it to be bumpy underneath the poem, so I reserved that for just around the edges. It is a perfect fit, so I'm going to add some more hot glue around the edges of the insert and attach that into the top of the box. I felt like I needed to do something inside the bottom of the box, so I used the ephemeral type stamps from IOD just to finish this little section off. I used a gray ink pad from Hobby Lobby for this. Felt like I needed to bring out the details of that little bow a little bit more, so I used some gold rub and buff and dry brushed over the top. I then decided that was a little too bright, so I took some white wax and I added that all over. I used a combination of Gorilla Glue and hot glue to attach the lock. All that's left is to add a little bit of clear wax all over just to make sure that those rub-on transfers are sealed in nicely. This is a Dollar Tree wood round from back in the fall, and I'm just going to be painting over the front of it with Waverly chalk paint in Snow White. The paint is completely dry. I'm going to be adding a coat of Mod Podge all over to the front, and I'm going to let that completely dry as well. This cute little spring napkin is from Dollar Tree, and I love the fact that it was round. It looks like a wreath, so I thought it would be perfect for this project. I removed one ply of the napkin, and then I placed it down onto the wood round, and I'm going to be using my little mini press to press out the wrinkles and then also to iron the napkin onto the wood round. Placed a piece of Teflon between the iron and the napkin just to make sure I didn't get too rough with it and tear something. And the iron will actually reactivate that Mod Podge so that the napkin will stick. And then I'm just going to sand off the excess around the edges with my finger sander. I'm going to be adding this little Hello Spring cutout. I believe I got it from Pop Shelf maybe last year. And I'm just going to glue that to the front. I'm not going to paint it or anything. I like the natural wood color. And then I'm going to add the hanger to the top. And I'm just using some white beads. This is a wood piece from Dollar Tree, and I first gave it a coat of white chalk paint by Waverly, and now I'm going to go over it and give it 2 coats of Fusion Mineral Paint in Peony. This little decoupage paper is from Sonnet's Maker's box from last year. It's painted by Connie at the Painted Photographer, and I'm just using a wet paintbrush to go around the part that I want to decoupage onto my square. And then I'm going to tear it, and it's going to leave a nice little jagged edge around the whole flower pot. I'm using liquid patina to adhere the decoupage paper down to the front of the square. Once I get my little starter strip done, I'm going to go ahead and finish adding that decoupage paper down, and I'm also giving it a coat of liquid patina on the top. This is a rub-on transfer from Redesigned by Prima, and I'm going to be cutting out parts of it to place these words all around the decoupage paper. I'm cutting out different pieces and placing them on my wood piece to be sure exactly where I want them and to make sure that they're going to fit before I remove the backing paper and rub them down. And now I'll go back and fill in the sides. Once all my transfers have been applied, I'm going to go back and give it one final coat of liquid patina. I think this is a very sweet piece, and I would love to know what you think. I'm so glad you joined me today, and I would love to know which of today's projects was your favorite. Be sure and let me know down in the comments below. Thanks so much to Brenda and Krista for hosting today's playlist. Be sure and check out the playlist as well as our host channels in the description box below. If you're interested in watching another video, here's one I think you might like. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.